All right. Good afternoon to all of you. Once you're done, we're done here. I will be joined by Adam Abdelmoula, the Deputy Special Representative and the UN Resident Coordinator and Humanitarian Coordinator for Somalia. He will join us remotely to brief on the situation in the country. As you saw, we issued a statement a short while ago in which the Secretary General condemned in the strongest terms the assassination of President Jovenel Moïse of Haiti. The perpetrators of this crime must be brought to justice. The Secretary General extends his deepest condolences to the people and government of Haiti and the family of the late president. The Secretary General calls on all Haitians to preserve the constitutional order, remain united in the face of this abhorrent act, and reject all violence. The United Nations will continue to stand with the government and people of Haiti. We also, as we move towards we approach the grim milestone sometime today, most likely, of 4 million deaths due to the COVID-19 pandemic. We will have a message from the Secretary General in which we expect him to say that while vaccines offer a ray of hope, the virus is outpacing vaccination distribution. The Secretary General will once again call for a global vaccine plan to double the production of vaccines and ensure equitable distribution through COVAX. And as many of you know, many parts of the world are experiencing unprecedented weather patterns. We've seen record heat waves in Canada and the Pacific Northwest, wildfires in Europe, and mudslides in Asia. In a tweet, the Secretary General said that all over the world, natural disasters have become more frequent and more severe, and that this means every country, city, and industry needs to step up climate action now. The World Meteorological Organization said that the heat wave in Canada and the U.S. had major impacts on people, animals, and vegetation, and noted that with so many records broken in June regarding high temperature, it was hard to keep track. WMO adds that these heat waves are becoming more intense as greenhouse gas concentration lead to a rise in global temperature. They're also starting earlier and ending later in the year and are taking an increasing toll on human health. Back here, the Security Council met to hear a virtual briefing from Bintou Keita, the head of the UN peacekeeping mission in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. She briefed council members on the situation in the country and noted that the security issue in the provinces of Ituri, North and South Kivu continues to be of grave concern. Ms. Keita said that with the transition of the UN mission, said that with the transition of the UN mission depends largely on the return of peace and stability in the area. She believes that there's still much work to be done before the UN mission in the country can responsibly withdraw. Among the immediate tasks at hand, she emphasizes the need to intensify good offices and to establish suitable conditions for the 2023 elections to be held on time in a consensual manner. Ms. Keita's remarks were shared with you. And I was asked to update you on the humanitarian situation in Ethiopia, and I can tell you that we are aware and, of course, welcome the government of Ethiopia's announcement that it has, quote, granted flight permission for all interested parties to provide humanitarian services in Tigray region, end quote. Unfortunately, no flights have yet been able to travel directly from Addis Ababa to Mekelle or Shire this week. However, we are following up with all relevant actors to ensure that the direct flights are able to operate as soon as possible in light of the announcement. The World Food Programme, for its part, tells us that there is currently no secure air or road access into Tigray, which is preventing them and other emergency responders from scaling up to reach hungry and vulnerable communities, especially in rural areas. WFP resumed its operations in Tigray on July 2nd after fighting halted emergency response for 48 hours. However, the World Food Programme is getting in only a fraction of the numbers it should be reaching due to the serious challenges that threaten entire humanitarian responses in the region. We, of course, urge all the parties to agree to a ceasefire so that all routes can be used to reach those in need. And WFP says it's calling for $176 million to continue to scale up its response to Tigray from at least July through December. Moving on to the Central African Republic, our humanitarian colleagues tell us that the situation remains tense in Alindao following cyclical armed violence in the past week. Yesterday in Bangui, the humanitarian coordinator for the UN, Denise Brown, strongly condemned the armed violence compounded by serious violations of humanitarian law that left at least 2 civilians dead. The violence has also displaced thousands of already displaced people, injuring humanitarian workers and leading to a significant reduction in humanitarian assistance in the city. According to our colleagues on the ground, significant population movements have been recorded towards the district hospital, existing sites for internally displaced people, the UN mission bases in the country or in surrounding villages. Burning of houses and looting of property and of population already battered by years of conflict are also recorded, as well as attempted break-ins to humanitarian premises. Today at a press conference, Monker Njai, the special representative of the Secretary General and head of the peacekeeping mission, reiterated the importance of prioritizing a political solution to the crisis, which remains the only viable path to a lasting peace. And from Myanmar, our UN colleagues on the ground says they're concerned about the rapid increase of recorded COVID-19 cases. They say that on July 4th, the test positivity rate reached 22.3% compared to about 10% just 2 weeks ago. In addition, several COVID-19 variants have been detected, including the Delta variant. The UN team warns that a major outbreak of COVID-19 would have devastating consequences on both people's health and on the economy. They stress the importance of resuming the delivery of essential health services, implementing measures to prevent the spread of the virus, and the scale of vaccinations. For this to happen, the UN team says that health facilities must keep safe, and patients and health workers and other service providers must be protected. Yesterday, we flagged for you the Secretary General's concern about yet another wave of kidnappings in Kaduna State. Today, the head of UNICEF, Henrietta Fore, expressed her own alarm at the increasing spate of attacks against children and abductions, including of students in Nigeria, but also in other parts of West and Central Africa. She pointed that the latest report by the Secretary General Armed Conflict says that 1 in 3 child victims of grave violations has been in West and Central Africa. She said that not enough is being done to condemn these crimes. She said that it is not enough to condemn these crimes and stressed that non-state armed groups and all parties to the conflict who are committing violations of children's rights have a moral and legal obligation to immediately cease attacks against children. Yesterday afternoon, you saw we issued a statement expressing the Secretary General's increasing concern on the developments in Eswatini, notably clashes between security forces and demonstrators that have led to deaths and injuries. The Secretary General underlines the importance of enabling all Eswatinis to exercise their civil and political rights peacefully and urges the security forces to exercise utmost restraint. Quick update from the Economic and Social Council's political forum, which today examined SDGs Goal 1, 2, 8, and 17 and linkages among those goals in a session called How Do We Get on Track to End Poverty and Hunger and Transform Towards Inclusive and Sustainable Economies. Speakers addressed issues of poverty and hunger, which are on the rise after years of decline, a trend made worse by COVID-19 pandemic. As many as 132 million additional people went hungry in 2020 because of the COVID-19 crisis. It is projected that as many as 163 million additional people could be pushed into extreme poverty through 2021. The livelihoods of people living in poverty and informal workers are at risk without social protection to cope in many countries, with women particularly impacted. The morning session also included a discussion on the 2020 targets and how to keep reviewing them while keeping track on ongoing intergovernmental processes to keep the level of ambition of those targets. Last but not least, I have a senior personnel appointment, and I'm delighted to announce that the Secretary General is appointing Ben Swanson of the United Kingdom as Assistant Secretary General for the Office of Internal Oversight Services. Mr. Swanson succeeds David Kanja of Kenya, to whom the Secretary General is deeply grateful for his dedicated service. Mr. Swanson joined OIOS in 2013, where he served as Deputy Director based in Nairobi, later Director of Investigation Division based in New York, where he was responsible for development of the division's strategic and operational plans, as also managed about 89 staff. We congratulate our friend and colleague, Mr. Swanson, on this appointment. And now we take your questions. Mr. Bays, I'm sorry.
Okay, fine. Let's see if you can do better with. See if you do. See if we can do better with the. See if we can do better with the questions.
Yeah.
Okay. So the UN mission in Port-au-Prince. Can you just tell us how many people are currently there? Are they locked down?
Sure.
What is the SRSG currently doing?
Sure. The SRSG is meeting with her senior staff. She is in constant contact with the acting Prime Minister of Haiti, Claude Joseph. She is calling on the Haitian authorities to ensure, on Haitian people to ensure calm. Her discussions with the Prime Minister is really about how to coordinate, to help Haitian authorities coordinate support for the government and also assist on the continuity issues, and also very much a call to respect the rule of law. In terms of staffing, we have about 1,200 staff at all in Haiti. A little less than 200 are international. They are all being in the process of being accounted for, so that process should be done very quickly. We've advised them to stay in place and in a safe place, but as I said, the senior leadership of the mission is actively working.
And one more question on Haiti. There clearly are lots of centres of power. You've talked about the continuity of government. You have an interim president now. You had an acting prime minister and another prime minister who've been appointed but not sworn in. It's a very, very confused situation and a very violent place. Does the Secretary General believe that the government of Haiti is in a position to investigate this crime, or should an international investigation be considered?
Look, it is first and foremost the responsibility of the government to investigate this abhorrent crime against the president, against the first lady. As always, we are ready to assist the government in any way we can. As for a quote international investigation, we know that would require some sort of mandate. But right now, the focus is on ensuring the safety of the Haitian people. They need the situation on the ground is reported calm, and I think fairly tense, but calm. I spoke to one of my colleagues just a short while ago. But I think you described the situation pretty well. Yes, Celia.
On Mali, Steph, the new government also said that he does not trust the UN and he doesn't trust Barkhane. So what does the Secretary General think about that?
I mean, I had not seen those comments. I can't talk about Barkhane, as you know. That's a bilateral issue. The mission met recently with the governing authorities, along with other actors in the international community, to continue to push them on keeping the timeline on the road to transition. We are there to support the people of Mali. We are there to help the government in any way we can. But obviously the government has a responsibility to ensure transition back to civilian rule along the lines that were already agreed upon.
Is the mission able to do his work without problems?
The mission, I mean, it's two different things. The mission is able to do its work. I mean, as you know, the mission's work is a very dangerous one. Is very dangerous. Our colleagues have paid dearly with their lives. There remains a lot of problems in Mali, but the mission is able to conduct its work and its mandate, especially in the north, where most of its military presence is. Okay, Ibtisam and then Lenka.
Thank you, Steph. On the planned Security Council vote on humanitarian resolution in Syria, first, do you have any updates on the aid there and the fund? Because I know you had shortage, and if you have more numbers. And what's your message, or the message of the Secretary General for the Security Council tomorrow?
I mean, our message is that we desperately need to be able to continue with the cross-border distribution of aid. We also want to use, and have been using to a lesser extent, the cross line, though there's been more challenges there because of the ongoing fighting. We hope that the Security Council keeps first and foremost in mind our call for continuing humanitarian access to all the Syrians who need it. Our appeal for Syria continues to be underfunded. I will see if I can give you some exact numbers. Lenke, and then we'll go to the screen.
Thank you. I was wondering, do you have the number of swipes yesterday as the UN reopened?
I do have the number of swipes. It's one of the few numbers that I have. Hopefully, I got them. I got them today. Anyway, my colleagues will send them to me, but we do usually get them. Okay, Maggie and then Michelle.
Steph.
2017. Number of swipes. Sorry.
That's okay. Tomorrow, the Security Council is going to discuss the Grand Renaissance Dam. What does the Secretary General want to see come out of this meeting? And he's meeting in a couple of hours with the Egyptian foreign minister. Could we get a readout perhaps after? And maybe you could share with us what his message might be to him. And does he have plans to meet with anyone from Sudan or Ethiopia? I think their delegations are also in town.
The Secretary General has been in constant contact, really, with all three parties, Egypt, Sudan, Ethiopia, as well as the Congolese chairmanship of the African Union with President Tshisekedi on this issue. His message is the same to all three parties, is to encourage them to work through the African Union-led process, to refrain from engaging in unilateral action that could undermine a solution being found. And, you know, I think as I mentioned yesterday, there are other places around the world where, in fact, many places around the world where rivers, major rivers, flow through different countries. And for us, the solution about sharing the water exists, and that's based on the principle of equitable and reasonable utilization and the obligation not to cause significant harm. We'll try to get you a readout, and I'll see. I don't have the SG's further calendar in my head right now, but we'll try to see what we can share with you. It's nice to see you on video.
Could I also ask you a favor? Would you read the Haiti statement, since it's only 4 lines in French? That would be useful for some of the broadcasters.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. I need to translate in my head first. Michelle.
No, your office sent it out in French. You
Okay,
don't
so
have
I'll get the. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks. If you could do it while you're on camera,
Yes,
that would be
ma'am.
great. Thanks.
Yes, ma'am. All right, Michelle. Any other requests?
Well, mine's a follow-up to Maggie's question on the dam. Tunisia has circulated this draft resolution, which would seemingly give the Secretary General a sort of greater role in trying to get negotiations going again. It would ask the SG to work sort of in partnership with the AU to issue invitations, to resume negotiations, and then for him to report on the matter to the Security Council. Can you just give us a little indication of how involved the Secretary General would like to be in this process?
Look, first of all, as a matter of course, the Secretary General will abide with whatever resolution has been, whatever instructions are given to him by the Security Council through a resolution. The Secretary General has been involved in this particular issue for quite some time. In the fact that he has been working with the parties in support of the African Union led discussions, and he will continue to be involved in whichever way member states want him to be involved. And as he said, he is standing by for whatever role would be most productive for him. Okay, and if you allow me, I will quickly read the Haiti statement. The Haiti statement in French. Le secrétaire général des Nations Unies condamne dans les termes les plus forts l'assassinat du président Jovenel Moïse de Haïti. Les auteurs de ce crime doivent être traduits en justice. Le secrétaire général présente ses plus sincères condoléances au peuple et au gouvernement haïtien, ainsi qu'à la famille du feu président. Le secrétaire général appelle tous les Haïtiens à préserver l'ordre constitutionnel et à rester unis face à cet acte odieux et à rejeter toute violence. Les Nations Unies continuent d'être aux côtés du gouvernement et bien sûr du peuple haïtien. OK, Iftikhar and then Abdelhamid.
Thank you, Stéphane. Although my question has been asked, but may I ask you whether the Secretary General has any thoughts on the death in Bombay of a legendary Indian film star, Dilip Kumar?
We send our deep condolences to his family, his legions of fans throughout the world, and voila. Abdelhamid.
Thank you, Stéphane. Both Maggie and Michelle, my question about the meeting tomorrow and the activities of the foreign ministers of Sudan and Egypt. But I will ask my question again, what I raised yesterday. The hunger striker, the Palestinian hunger striker, Al-Ghadhanfar Abu Atwan, entered his 64th day today, and he lost the ability to talk. And yet the UN officials in the occupied Palestinian territory have not said anything. He's protesting his administrative detention since October until today.
I will try to get specific language on this, and I'm sorry I don't, but obviously we have in the past and will continue to express our concern about the issue of administrative detention.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, James.
So back to Afghanistan, have you any update on what the UN is doing, given the complex situation in Afghanistan right now, what either of your special envoys are up to, and do you have any information on that report that the Taliban has offered some new proposal, or is planning to offer some new proposal?
No new... Sorry, nothing to confirm on what was reported by another media organization. What I can tell you is that Deborah Lyons has just returned to Kabul. She had been in Doha. She met with both the Taliban negotiating team and the government negotiating team. She reiterated once again that there can only be a negotiated solution to the end of the conflict to bring peace to Afghanistan and its people. I mean, what is clear to us is, I think, continuing military operations, continuing violence will only bring more suffering to the Afghan people. And it's incumbent on Afghan leaders to heed and answer the calls for peace from their people with the support of regional powers and the broader international community. We also expect later this month our human rights colleagues in the mission to report on the latest list of violations from January to June.
And what about Mr. Arnault? Because, I mean, we've never been given a clear division of labour between these two. And Deborah Lyons seems to be, I thought he was doing the regional role and she was dealing with events on the ground in Afghanistan. But it seems she's doing both jobs.
Well, no, I mean, he had been traveling in the region. I think the fact that she was in Doha meeting with the government of Afghanistan delegation and the Taliban delegations is within her remit of dealing with what is going on in Afghanistan itself.
Lebanon, on the verge of economic collapse. What is the UN up to?
We are increasingly concerned about the socioeconomic situation in Lebanon through the international support group. We remain in touch with the government, and I think it is important for all of Lebanon's external partners to do whatever they can to be supportive in a conducive way to the government and especially, obviously, to the people of Lebanon.
And final question from me. Yesterday you announced that there were going to be some changes in terms of the opening of this building and that a lot of meetings now will take place and staff will return to their posts. Us journalists are here. The people who are not being given access, we understand why the public can't get access, but the NGOs. I'm told the NGOs are just being treated like visitors from the public and are getting no access at all. Why are the NGOs, who are an important part of the work done at the UN, not getting their normal access if normal meetings are returning?
NGOs are an integral part of the ecosystem that we have here. At this point, there are no side events, there are no external events. If civil society briefers are invited to participate in multilateral legislative meetings, they will of course be given access. And we very much hope that starting in October, we will see a progression and more people having access to this building.